Society in this generation battles with so many injustices meted upon its people, ranging from corruption, abuses, discrimination, and racism. Such injustices have subjected the people to harsh living conditions as they are forced to adjust to substandard conditions. With work and other activities meant for earning a living being important integral parts of livelihood of the people, the working conditions remain an essential component that has to be discussed, lest the people become mistreated in their places of work. However, it has been long run that employers have got away with so much impunity in the working sector that employees are forced to adapt to such discriminatory practices. The working conditions and the wages of such sweatshops and other factories have taken over the lives of workers in providing poor sustainability for the workers and their families. Workers work long hours in poor conditions, but they can receive only a small amount of pay to provide for their families. Since justice is the cardinal virtue that is concerned with the rights and duties with relationships through commitments in actions and attitudes to guarantee that all people obtain what is due to them. As students, we are eager to find out what we can do to fight these injustices. Our group seeks to elaborate on how unjust wages and working conditions affect the society. Investigate the industries that are most affected by unjust wages and working conditions, and how fair trade corporations, which do trade between companies in developed countries and producers in developing countries, in which fair prices are paid to the producers, and agencies work to address these injustices.
In the role of theology, Catholic social teachings demonstrate a strong understanding of our topic, unjust wages and working conditions. Our topic illustrates the Catholic social teaching of the dignity of workers and the rights of workers. Unjust working conditions place the worker at risk, which diminishes the dignity of the person. Humans have the responsibility to treat workers with love while respecting their dignity. This teaching leads us into another Catholic social teaching, which is the call to family, community, and participation. This CST teaches us that humans have the responsibility to care for others by providing jobs that promote the well-being of our fellow man. Our family is the world around us, and we are called in the CST to aid them and protect them. It is our duty to work towards the common good of our society. Similarly, God's Word through Scripture allows us to gain an understanding of this issue. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 14 to 15, Moses proclaims, "Do not take advantage of a hired worker who is poor and needy. Pay them their wages each day." Whether the people working are fellow friends or strangers, God instructs us to be honest and fair with one another. Our just society is one that has citizens and social institutions committed to the common good. It is our job to uphold the common good, such that all humans protect civil rights for workers. God also lays out his laws in Romans chapter 4, verse 4, saying, "Now to the one who works, wages are not credited as a gift, but as an obligation." It is thus clear that everyone is to be given the opportunity to have a job and receive a fair wage. It is an employer's obligation of the worker to give an honest wage in compensation for work done. The role of Catholic theology continues to be shown in the injustice with the help of the Holy Cross charisms. Option for the poor is showing love and providing aid to those that need it the most. Humans have the duty to show love and care for anyone in need, and in doing so, they allow those that have unjust wages and work in unfair working conditions to care for their families. When it comes to working conditions and receiving unjust pay, the charism of inclusiveness urges us to help improve the working situation of those that are treated unjustly. Often and sadly, employers offer higher pay to males than females, Christians than minority religious groups, or the white person than the minority person. Inclusiveness calls for us to forget the physical and social differences among us. Social sin relates closely to this charism and our topic because social sin is being born into a place with issues that discriminate against people because of class, gender, color, ethnicity, or religion. We as a group and society can work to help aid workers that are affected. When we reflect on the circle of social sin, we are aware of injustices. Therefore, we can combat structural sin and work to help the common good. In solidarity and faith, our society can come together to create bonds and share the spiritual goods of faith with the weaker nations to contribute to the common good of the world.
Through the analysis section as a whole, we were able to understand who has the power. The people affected by this injustice really have no control and no voice over how much they get paid. That is up to the execs and managers. So in turn, it is up to people like Rachel, Chrissy, and our group to be a voice for the voiceless and bring them justice. Overall, these interviews really struck a chord with my group and I, because I think it was the first time we realized that we truly have an impact. This fueled our work and motivated us to want to make a difference and put a dent in this injustice. While there are laws like the controversial minimum wage law and other cultural barriers regarding race, social status, etc., it doesn't mean there aren't any options. A person being affected by this injustice should reach out. Like we said, there are so many organizations who are there solely to fight this injustice, and their life's work revolves around this issue's resolution. This is how they can become empowered to fight this injustice, having a team of people backing them. As a teenager, there is actually a lot you can do to fight this injustice. You could do something like us, gain understanding and educate people on this injustice and what they can do. Or you can get involved with some of the opportunities that organizations like the IRTF are offering.
The topic of unjust wages and working conditions have encouraged us as a group to research the topic broadly. This topic allows us to dive into challenges that workers face today. As a group, we took as much information as we could to become a solution for change. This issue has been a problem for a long time, and in 2014, full-time, year-round working women annual median wages were $39,621 compared with $50,383 for men. Women of color and other women-identified workers continue to experience a pay gap and are at higher risk of poverty than men. For women ages 15 to 24 working full-time and year-round, the wage gap is $4,000 plus per year. By the time a woman reaches 45 to 65, they earn $15,400 less than men per year. The 116th Congress has an opportunity to make important progress, and not only for genders in the workplace, but for the economic security for all. While doing research, we were granted the opportunity to interview Chrissy Martinez, co-coordinator of IRTF. She started working with IRTF due to her family being from Colombia while the Civil War was going on. While she found it in college through another worker, she was floored by their mission and work. Her eyes opened and she opened a fair trade store. She moved to Cleveland after graduating school and reconnected with IRTF. She helps people live a safer life without having to struggle day to day. Rapid Response Network teachers, civic political defenders, and their lives' work and family have been in danger. The goal of IRTF is to seek and find equal pay for equal work and teach people about the economic justice, injustice, and how to manage their money. IRTF has $25,000 to $50,000 of fair trade funding per year. IRTF promotes suitable trading by making sure everyone is paid the same amount and makes sure workers get the basic needs.
For our interviews, we interviewed the Interreligious Task Force, or IRTF, and the Center for Employment Opportunities, or CEO. We learned from CEO that there are thousands of convicts released from prison every year, and that many of them don't have a place to go. They don't have a home, money, or a job. CEO is an organization that creates opportunities for ex-convicts to get back on their feet after being released. CEO has many offices across the country, any one of which can be contacted for help. Once an office is contacted, the first step is to make sure the client fits the criteria, which include, but are not limited to, at least 1 year in prison, good reviews and permission from the parole officer, and a willingness to work. If all of these conditions are met, step 2 is job training. Most of the client's CEO helps go into the manufacturing industry. CEO prepares the clients for an appropriate work environment and teaches them how to handle job interviews. Once a client is hired, CEO will keep in contact with them for up to a year to make sure things go smoothly. If there is an issue, they go back to square one and start finding another job. The IRTF is an organization that helps set up communities in developing countries and cities. The IRTF's main tool for doing this job is their Rapid Response Network. This is the idea that a community supports itself. So if one family or industry of the community is struggling, the other parts will support it until things get better. It's like a you support me when I need it, so I can support you when you need it kind of idea. The IRTF mostly works in Central American countries and only where they are invited. The IRTF believes that if they force themselves into a developing community where they aren't wanted, that it would only make things worse. Locally, the IRTF does roughly the same thing. The IRTF also helped found the Fair Trade Organization. Every year, the IRTF holds a fundraiser event to help support and donate to the Fair Trade Organization. Both of these organizations practice solidarity by only going places where they are invited and needed. The IRTF will not try to force itself onto a community that doesn't want it. Likewise, CEO only helps ex-convicts who ask them for their help.
After analyzing our topic and doing interviews on numerous organizations, we decided to take action. Amidst the tragic COVID-19, our group decided it was important to create a social presence in order to deal with our topic and try our best to acknowledge what is going on around the world and in our backyards. Our group decided to create a website with trivia questions in order to acknowledge the unjust wages and working conditions annually. We decided that in order to get the most justice and spread the most awareness at this time, we had to create something that could be brought to social media. We decided to do trivia because this way people would understand the right and the wrong answers to fair trade and other aspects within our topic. Ultimately, our action response has been effective in teaching people about these injustices, and this means they will hopefully start buying fair trade, but also understand what should be happening in the workplace and how they should be treated. Our group has learned truly what the unjust wages and working conditions look like both locally and globally. We've learned about the minimum wage and that different people need a certain amount of money in order to be sustainable. We've also learned how many agencies work with fair trade within Ohio, but also how they reach out globally. Overall, our group has come to understand that actions need to be put into place in order to create a more just and humane society through safe working conditions and fair wages. People who are affected by this injustice need to understand that there are ways to overcome this. At first, it may seem impossible, but there are various agencies and organizations that deal with this topic, and they should not be afraid to reach out. As teenagers, the steps we can take to change this injustice in our daily lives is to volunteer and or host internships. But another way is to go to the community events that are hosted by Fair Trade Ohio and learn from others to take this into our daily lives. Another concrete step is if I see a working condition that seems unsafe, I can call it in possibly. But another thing is to start promoting the use of fair trade products within my family and friends. In the future, my group needs to promote the use of fair trade items at Gilmore and then hopefully grow onto other schools and keep spreading the word. To conclude, we are grateful for the opportunity to study this topic, and we have grown to understand and appreciate so much more in our day-to-day lives.